at Neuromations. As Chief Operation Officer at Neuromations, I'm basically responsible for a number of things, and it's a very undefined yet role, as well as role in many organizations. Specifically, in my view and how I take this role is I am responsible for running smooth company. So it may define many involved things times not everyone is willing to take. Some of the things that necessary to visualize them, but basically bringing all the domains of our company together and making sure that they are running smoothly. By background, I am I have spent many years in over 15 years in working in various consulting houses. I was working in Deloitte Consulting in strategies and operations group, and then for about 3 years, and then I switched and I worked in KPMG in risk advisory group. And about a year ago, or less than a year ago, about half a year ago, through a friend, I was introduced to the project Neuromation project, and I was asked to help advising on the compliance side and risk side of running an ICO project. So I started with the project as an advisor, and gradually got more and more involved, took more and more responsibilities, and by the end of December, it appeared that the company needed a position that's probably would be most fitted for the operations officer. And in January, I switched from KPMG to work at Neuromation as Chief Operations Officer. And it's been quite a ride. I have a number of priorities that we need to tackle. There's a lot of things happening. And what I see on the market, and what I see the people understand a little less than just to run a successful ICO is just the beginning. It's just the tip of an iceberg. Once the ICO is run, we have to deal with the building the actual company, how you allocate the funds, how you put the strategy that you design in place. Obviously, the strategy that we had for at the beginning of ICO, we didn't know how much funds we're going to raise, and this consequently switched from our target for specific fundraising of a soft cap through the hard cap, and then with the appreciation of Ether, we now in a very different position with a very different strategy. So we can talk about this, and I'll cover that because I've seen some questions coming through. What's our roadmap and how it changed because of the changes in our fundraising. So we'll definitely have changes attributed to that, and I'll talk about them a little bit more in details later on. As of right now, I want to talk about my specific, more strategic goals, what I'm responsible for in terms of the building company and my responsibility. It may address some of the questions that have been listed by our community. So my top priority right now, and one of the top priorities, is transparency to our organization. And basically, it's a community. My primary care right now is a community relationship building. What I mean by that is what you in a fiat world you would consider investor relations building, and that includes communication with the community, building a transparent organization with policies and procedures that are absolutely clear, that we can communicate on back to the community about our progress as a company, as Neuromation. We can build an infrastructure so that community contributes to our project will be able to monitor on a regular basis our progress and have full set of information and validate it back to the community on our progress. We will list all our successes. We will want to inform you of all of our new partnerships. We will keep you informed of all uh, our new developments, and we'll make sure that this is not just we're not just communicating this, but our communication is validated by a third party who can come in and validate. Yep, and your mission is doing what they said they want to do. Ultimately, we want to, because this is a bit of a disorganized field, and we don't have the enough regulatory environment around us. What my goal is to build this organization as a self-regulatory organization. We want to bring the from the fiat world, from a classic world of running a company, the best practices and principles, and build them in a crypto world. That requires reporting, that requires audit, that requires building proper due diligence of the company operations, and that's requires communications back to the community. So that's in a nutshell where my primary focus is, and of course I will not bore you with the rest of the uh, internal stuff, as we have a lot of things that we have to build that will require just building the processes. Just that's something that's not sexy, not to bring to the attention of the larger community. Just a lot of building brick by brick the company. So with that, I want to go through a couple of questions, and I will have additional questions coming through the chat. So I will have answered the question about the ETH Ether raise due to fluctuations price. The question is, I hope some major portions are already locked in fiat. If so, based on target of original raised versus what is raised, when it's locked into fiat, what additional add-on in the roadmap to justify the usage of additional funds raised? This will help show the transparent nature and usage, thereby increasing credibility and utilization of funds. About the second point, when hard cap was reached, ETH was 1,000. When you locked in fiat, it might be 1,300. So do you additional liquidity to smart conversion into fiat to get better benefits. This is also means funds available, which you should be shown as usage for additional things to increase transparency and showcase smart. Yeah, this is great question, and obviously this is obviously not the first time we're been asked this question. There is a lot of buzz in the community where strategy when the hard cap was more than originally expected due to fluctuation fluctuation in ether. We obviously when we planned our token offering, we had the ether price was very different, and our hard cap wasn't ether. So what it does, however, it gives you the raising the amount of hard cap completely changes the strategy of how we approach things, right? So now we can afford to have a massive impact on the AI industry. We can get more specialized talent, and we can deploy them not consequently while raising some sort of revenue on the platform, but we can deploy this talent simultaneously and start developing in different directions. So what we're doing, in addition to, because we have additional funds, we are building. So there is a Neuromation platform, as it's described in our white paper, and we also have Neuromation labs that are also the vendors on the platform. So now we're able to have a research and development into more than one industry of the Neuromation labs. We will acquire talent. We're in the process of negotiating and acquiring talent in Silicon Valley and organizing development of specific domains in specific industries. So that naturally, this will generate significantly sooner higher return on investment, and it will be a larger revenue turnover, because we will have a product ready to go to the market a lot sooner than we originally anticipated. Because there is still a limitation to how much of the money we can deploy into development of the company, and being responsible stewards of the company, we also in the process of converting the money from ether to fiat. We have a strategy. We recently hired a couple of investment bankers that will help us that modeling the conversion strategies for us. We have two different conversion strategies. We have two different strategies. So one is for managing fiat. We'll have conversion ratio that will be approved into the fiat. We'll have a small amount of ether locked into ether, so we can maintain our liquidity and maintain our token economics. This will require the larger funds, the fiat funds, will be transferred into their asset management something like an EFT, and it will be the returns on the EFTs will be targeted more to support our daily liquidity, and we will need to use these EFT funds to support some of our yearly costs. This will be a low risk EFTs. We don't anticipate to model to get a higher rate of returns with the risky funds. And there is no for us it's not a strategy, because we simply need don't need urgently funds, and putting the contributors money at risk is not the responsible stewardship of the company. So I think I answered this question in terms of the fluctuations and whether we sold ether at when it was 13 or 1400. We did not, because we did not touch the funds until the official public sale of public sale is over, which is today. So whatever the price is today, this is where we start to start to do the conversion for ether. We'll have a certain number of funds at a strike price, at the market price, and we'll have a certain number converted, and we'll set certain corridors of on walls to achieve our short-term liquidity, mid-liquidity, long-term liquidity. So this is that answers this one. I want to talk a little bit more about the changes in a roadmap. What is the future roadmap after 2018? Not much details in the white paper. Okay, so we met with the board. The board of Neuromation met with the last week, and we had discussions about short-term and long-term plans, and what is our blue sky vision. So I can talk about probably not in terms of the Neuromation as a platform, but more in terms of the overall company development and the blue sky vision of what Neuromation will mean in the industry. A lot of it will depend on the next half a year, and we'll see what kind of sales we'll bring in on the first and second iteration of the platform, and of course this will adjust our blue sky vision. I can't say for sure that so far what we've seen already is very promising. We have a number of really interesting leads into the from our sales team, which is amazing. And I hope you guys will get a chance to talk. And even Evan, who is our sales head of sales, he will be presenting on this on AMA. Yeah, I mean, if things are as we plan them to be in 2019, 2020. We will have an adjusted business model to sustain a significant market share of anything to do with visual recognition in AI space, and we'll be able to develop some breakthrough technologies using our talent that we acquiring right now, to have in the domains of biomedicine and genomics, and so like I would say these are our more promising fields, where we put a lot of effort and a lot of talent and a lot of funds. And I believe we're in a well position to have a dominant presence on the market past 2018 with high caliber talent. We also forming a number of partnership that will help us achieve this position on the market. And in terms of the platform will continue to the development and bringing in and building a larger community past 2018. End of 2018, we plan to have a fully distributed computing power on a platform, fully built functionality with automated switch for the mining rigs, and that will help us to enhance our our platform, and technically bring a large community of users. So I hope that explains where we are past 2018. I will continue with the questions, and just check if I have any new questions in our. No, nothing yet. All right, so I have a question. Which industry vertical are you most excited about? Can you talk about how fast data is, have fast data set demand is growing? Thanks for taking my question, Duncan. All right, Duncan. So I think I was referring to this a little bit in my previous response. I think anything to do with biomedical research, DNA research. This is so far at least where we have found best strategical partners. Where we are able to focus on the adding talent in terms of the research and research of the scientists, the academics. So I think this would be one of the key development of the within the industry. But there is one thing that kind of excites even more than specific domain. Will probably be some kind of a interdomain categories. Let's say a cross between let's say medical development and medical labs and these domains, the development and retail. So if we're gonna be able to build a large community of users, we should be able to have to have built a number of cross bridges, if what you'd say, and by that I mean the cross bridges between the the data that's received from your daily life, some sort of IoT, and how it's fed into your medical records, or vice versa, how your medical records are fed into the to the IoT devices in the future. And feeding of that information in between will build your kind of your lifestyle, will be built around your lifestyle. So let's say if your DNA, based on your DNA and DNA samples, may drive your daily routines, your shopping, your exercises, your eating patterns, your work. So if we build two domains, one would be, let's say, dedicated to health, and one dedicated to DNA research. That cross bridge between, given that cross bridge between for the user community, that's something that's probably most exciting to me. And I'm sure, like everyone who you'd ask, or in our organizations for sure, will have a different view on this. So these are things that I'd like that I'm most excited about. All right, here's an interesting question. So, okay, so I'm very interested in this project. Do you cooperate with some Chinese enterprises? And just now I heard Alibaba. Yeah, I think everyone who has set foot in China to develop a company will have some sort of interactions with Alibaba. Uh, okay, so our a substantial number of our contributors have come from China, and by substantial I mean it's more than I think if I remember correctly 30-40%. And the way we work with uh, contributors contributors on this on this with these contributors is we're not looking for participation just for the sake of it. If a contributor wants to take part in our project, we want a long-term relationships. So when we're in Asia, we have a number of term relationships which we need to develop still with a number of larger size contributors, representative of the private investors or private funds or just private enterprises. And we are continuing on our journey, on our relationship with them. We have built a good rapport in Asia. We're very present. We're going to be opening offices in China and in Singapore, and hopefully down the road in Japan. And we are working on and looking for any connections with the Korean market that has not been so far. We haven't entered the market in the right direction. So we do have a number of leads with a number of Chinese companies, and we'll definitely will have our presence. Not only leads, but we also start to develop certain products based on their requests. Obviously, I'm not at liberty to discuss right now specific leads. As soon as we sign either contract or letter of intent, we'll be able to have to discuss in more details what are the companies and what specifically we're building on them. But yeah, but we're definitely present. We're definitely in China. We're definitely in Hong Kong. We're working on Singapore. So that's we, that's our direction in the East. Right. What? That's a tricky question. So the question is next is, what are your main challenges? So I'd say for me specifically, as chief operations officer, my main challenge is to build transparency into our organization. So the questions like, what is my main challenge, is answered based on a data that's available in reference to the community. That's my main challenge. If I have to um, report back if my community wants to support me. If they don't know what's happening within my company, then it's a challenge. And it's not challenge so much for me, but it's a challenge for ultimately for the contributors, and ultimately for all of the stakeholders. And there's a lot of steps that built into the that are built into this challenge to build the transparency. There's a lot of steps. There's a lot of infrastructure and operations that need to be built, um, that have to deal with these operations. I mean, it's a new field, not just because it's a AI new field. It's a new field because it's cryptocurrency new field. So even simple things like for financial statements or financial reporting or management reporting or treasury functions or liquidity management. None of the things have been properly done before. At least we don't have visibility on the good practices right now, because there are no good practices. So you're building something based on your best guess scenario. Like, that's all right. Well, I think I know. I think I understand how it's supposed to be, how it's supposed to be done. There's no guidance. I have to figure out everything by myself. I will do the best of my abilities to figure it out. But at the end of the day, it's still a guess. And coming from environment where I am, or at least given my past, a guess is not a very good position to be. A guess is not something that's guess is not something that you can be. Okay. Next question is, what am I most proud of? I think the most proudest moment of the campaign was when we, at the end of the day, at the end of the ICO, we were able to close ICO at within 8 hours. It showed that we don't just have a hunch, but we have a support of the community. It's not just about one transaction. It's not about two transactions. It's about the belief of a large group of people that this is something, we onto something here, and we onto something good, and we onto something that we have a belief of a large group of people. This will work. We have more than we never had any contributions from any of the funds, like a lot of ICOs with large raised. Our proudest moment is that we can close ICO and we say we didn't speculate, we didn't bring any institutional investors. We have what we have behind us is a belief of a community, a belief of a large community. And it's not just in United States, or it's not mostly from Eastern Europe or anything. It's truly global. So when we have when we have this kind of support behind us, we are it makes us very proud. It makes the community, it makes us believe that we will have developed something that we cannot stop, and we will take on all the challenges, as we face them. So that's I guess this would be my most proudest moment to answer. Okay, so let's see what other questions we can answer today. What are the plans for expanding the team? Oh, uh, plans are grand. So we started with two offices. We had a rep office in Silicon Valley. We had a office and we had an office in um, in Ukraine, and now only a short period of time we are opening offices in Israel. We're opening offices in St. Petersburg, and we are opening offices in Singapore, and we will open office in. We will also open office in a couple of more countries. We expect to be present in China and possibly in Japan, or at least we will cooperate with our partners. And our team will probably grow from so right now our team is out of 50 people altogether, and I think I wouldn't be surprised by the end of the year we will have close to 200-300 people working for us. That's just within 1 year, and we'll definitely be present on at least United States, Eastern Europe, and all of Asia, including Asia proper, China, and the Southeast Asia. We will try to target emerging markets as well, and present and put in offices somewhere in countries like Malaysia and Thailand. So that's definitely on our to-do list. Okay. And the next question. So, what are the current partnerships can you disclose? Questions from Montana. Right. Okay. So we have a number of partnerships. A couple of them are actually published on our couple of them are published on our website. So then we have a partnership with OSA HP, is a data analytics AI company out of Russia. We have with whom we're building retail labs, Neuromation retail lab. Now we also have partnership. We also have partnership with Gigawatt, which is one of the biggest mining rigs in United States. We are planning to open a partnership with a new entrant to the market, which is AI health provider, which builds a personalized robot in your based on your personalized data. We Unfortunately, I can't disclose the name as of right now, so I apologize for that. And I think I think in terms of the concrete plans, we have a number of developments that we cannot disclose, unfortunately. So I will not be able to discuss them with you right now, but um, but yeah, we're working on, but it's coming. So I will definitely have more information for you on our next call. Okay, I think I'm at the end of. Oh yeah, a couple of questions were designed for me. Okay, so do you think the government can benefit the Neuromation platform? Yeah, I mean, the mission of the company is to provide cost-effective method for development of AI solutions. So that's definitely something that any government can benefit from, right? Not only that, I mean, and we also have complete transparency on how the contracts are built. So that's anyone who dealt with the government knows that procurement process is a nightmare just because it's so non-transparent and so bureaucratic. And then bureaucracy is because it's not non-transparent. So if we can build the procurement process, platform for submitting AI contracts on AI, which is absolutely transparent because and immutable with immutable records. That's definitely adding a lot of value to the government, and will leave the bidding process completely transparent, not only to the government employees and workers, but to the entire community. Anyone will be able to see how the government is making decisions based on what are the parameters that they have discussed, and how they want to introduce the bidding for AI solutions. So yeah, definitely the governments will benefit. The previous question was about what partnerships are you forming. One of the partnership leads that we're working on is a large government entity. Unfortunately, I'm unable to disclose it at this moment, but it's definitely something that we have a target on. We have a couple of other ideas approaching specific governmental agencies. It's not our prime target, but if we have successfully announced something like over a large government entity signing up with Neuromation, we'd definitely be announcing this. Um, in which country you're going to set up your first working platform? Our platform is distributed. We're not setting up in any country, or we in every country. If you have access to internet, you have access to our platform. If that's your question, I guess I'm guessing I answered this. You talked about best practice. Best practice are used to maintain quality as an alternative legislated standards and can based on self-assessment or benchmarking. How is Neuromation going to benchmark, because there are not a lot of competitors? Well, that's uh, that's not true. Every industry has a competitor. Depends on how you look at it. Like even email servers have competitors. They called mailmen, right? So Yeah, I mean, they're a little bit outdated, but they're definitely part of the benchmark. So it's not necessarily fair to say that there's not a lot of competitors. There are competitors. We just on a different level, and then we can demonstrate the benchmarks that how much we're moving forward based on our benchmark, how much we're pushing the needle or going forward. That's definitely will be good demonstration of a benchmark. Okay. And that's definitely would be part of the building the best practices. So I think I answered all the questions, and I don't see anything added to the chat for me. So I think that's I would like to. With that, I would like to finish my session. My session with the my open session. If there are no more questions added, I would like to thank everyone who is listening in to this. And I really thank everyone for participation and for believing in us and believing in the platform. Please believe us that we're doing everything we can to get this thing off the ground and operational. We're on a good track, and we will make sure that you're happy with our performance. Well, thank you very much. And with that, I'm finishing the call.